What is the etymological link between your thumb and a cow? Butter.
Round 1.
The word butter appears to come from the word Boutyron. Boutyron literally means cow cheese. Bous is the Greek word for cow, and Tyros is the Greek word for cheese. Tyros comes from an even more ancient word called Teue, and Teue means to swell. The reason why they're called cheese Tyros is because cheese forms when you allow milk to clump up together. A word that links to Teue is your thumb, and if you look carefully, it's because your thumb kind of looks like a swollen finger.
Round 2.
Several words link to butter, such as bovine, beef, buffalo, butane, thigh, and tyrosine. But I'm going to focus on butane and tyrosine. Tyrosine is one of the 20 naturally occurring amino acids. They're called amino acids because they've got an amine group and an acid group. Amino acids form the building blocks called proteins in your body, in your hair, skin, and nails. As you've probably guessed, tyrosine shares its root with Tyros for cheese. And that is because it was first isolated in a reaction between potash and old rancid cheese. Cheese is generally made from cow's milk. 80% of cow's milk is a protein called casein. Casein itself comes from a Latin word for cheese, which is caseus. We can react casein with formaldehyde to create a plastic called gallolith. Gallolith is used in some buttons. The word gallolith literally means milkstone, and the gallo part shares a link with our word galaxy. And that's because the white milky path that can be seen in some nights. When people saw this, they started calling this the Milky Way. So when you say the Milky Way galaxy, you're essentially saying the same word twice. Butane also finds its link with cow's milk. The but part comes from the word butter. And this is because old rancid cheese forms an acid, this acid here. And this acid was called butyric acid, but now is better known as butanoic acid. Anytime when you see a string of carbons that are 4 carbons long, we now use the prefix but to denote that it has 4 carbons within it somewhere. You need to know that butene is an alkene and butane is an alkane.
Final round.
One of the most powerful conquerors of all time was Alexander the Great. A quick side note on his name. His name means protector of men because Alexein means protect and Ander means men. This is one of the Easter eggs in The Matrix. Neo within The Matrix was known as Mr. Anderson because within The Matrix he was the son of man. Anyway, we're not so much concerned with Alexander the Great, we're more focused on his horse called Bucephalus. Earlier we translated Bous into cow, but in this context it's better to translate it into ox. And Cephalus just comes from the word for head. There are 2 legends as to why this horse was called Oxhead. One of it was due to its unusually large size, and the other legend is that it's just the branding of the horse. You've probably come across this word cephalopods before. Cephalopods are a class of animals with tentacles directly attached to their heads. So their name literally means head feet. Tripods sort of look like cephalopods, but instead of having head feet, they have 3 feet. Now let's head back to Cephalus. If that joke I just made gave you a headache, you can impress your onlookers by calling it cephalalgia. Cephalalgia means head pain. The algia part comes from the Greek word for pain, so not surprisingly it comes up a lot in medicine. Unlikely to be on the tip of your tongue is this word, glossalgia, which just means tongue pain. Back in the day, if you spoke ill of the king, you could have your tongue cut off. This would definitely induce glossalgia, and you won't be able to then give explanations of any words that you say. You can't give a glossary. Having your tongue cut off, not being able to give glossaries of terms, that will probably ruin your day. The feeling you get when you just want to return back to the familiar surroundings of your home can be called homesickness, but you could also call it nostalgia.